Florida is now the 5th most popular foreign destination for British holidaymakers. And instead of spending those spare dollars on inflatable Don Johnson dolls, more and more people are coming home with a car. In a typical British traffic jam, left-hand drive doesn't matter, and there are hundreds of clubs to help out with spare parts. But best of all, car prices in the States are lower than even a very low price.
This is a Mercury Cougar. It's 3 years old, it's done 30,000 miles, so its 3.8-litre engine is barely run in. It has power everything. Now let's just see if you can work out how much you'd have to pay for it.
The body, after its none too arduous life in the Florida sunshine, is blemish-free, and the interior has never been ravaged by even a muddy welly, let alone a playful Labrador with alopecia.
Well, I'll tell you. £4,500. And don't think I'm cheating either. This is just a standard model at a standard dealership. Just happens to be in Fort Lauderdale. There are thousands of cars like this in thousands of dealerships all over the state. Now, if the idea of a Mercury Cougar seems a bit dull and it doesn't really appeal, and you want to set yourself up as the local villain, then you absolutely have to get yourself the rather inappropriately entitled Lincoln Town Car. That one is just £7,000, though of course the violin cases are extra.
But before leaping into the buyer's hot seat, one foot in your mouth and your wallet smoking with anticipation, beware. Because waiting even more eagerly than you for the car to arrive in Britain will be someone from HM Customs and Excise. The Cougar may have cost you £4,500 to buy, roughly £800 to ship and £100 to insure en route. But the bills don't really start to mount up until it's safely ashore in Blighty. First, the British government will add 10% import duty because you dared to buy a car made outside the EC. Then the vehicle appraisal unit will decide how much the car is worth in Britain and add another 5% car tax to whatever figure they come up with. And then you pay 17.5% VAT on the whole lot. The total is therefore £7,415. That's still cheap, but thanks to the stand and deliver policy of Her Majesty's finest, it ain't the bargain it once was. It, however, is built to last. When it comes to mechanical engineering, our transatlantic cousins favour the barn door approach. Also, driving an American car in England is a little bit of an off-the-wall thing to do.
Tell someone you drive a Ford Granada, and let's face it, no one's going to be that impressed. But what if you said you had a Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe? This one is 3 years old, it's done 49,000 miles, it comes with air conditioning, power seats, cruise control, I think they call it fully loaded over here, and all they want for it is £3,750.
Mind you, once you've paid the tax and the tax on a tax and the tax on a tax on a tax, that £3,750 becomes £6,300. Even so, not the worst buy in the world.
What if you don't need a sensible saloon? What if, like me, you're still single? Well, this is a Camaro Z28. It's got a 5-litre V8 engine. It's 4 years old, it's done 40,000 miles, and all they want is £5,000. A few more of these and it'll be on the first boat to Milford Haven.
The trouble is that you can buy a Camaro for not a lot in England. This one would be nearly £8,000 by the time it was in your drive, and that's expensive, even for what would undoubtedly be the flashiest car in town.
Now, I've got a lot of friends who work in building, construction, that kind of thing, and they're forever moaning that there's a lack of choice when it comes to pickup trucks. Well, out here, they're 10 a penny. This Ford is 6 months old, and they're asking £7,500 for it. Now, sure, you can pick up a pickup truck for that kind of money in England, but I'd like to bet that it wouldn't have the same amount of features that this one's got. Just come and look inside. Now, you have to ignore the Vulgalore upholstery, the Pleblon carpentry and this wood-etched trim, but you can't help but be impressed by the list of standard equipment. I've got air conditioning, a stereo, cruise control, electric windows and central locking. Oh yeah, and it has a 5-litre engine, so if any of the other cars have tickled your fancy, just shove them in the back and this thing will have the power to take them to the dockside.
Indeed, one Brit bought 6 trucks in one go without trying any of them.
Well, so far we've looked at some pretty sensible mid-range cars, and even repatriate a Rolls out here if you want. But what if you're shopping on a shoestring? Well, that is where the Oldsmobile Cutlass comes in. Now, Mark here has the easiest job in the world, selling cars like this to people like me. How much are you asking for it, Mark?
About $4,000.
So that's just a bit more than £2,000.
Right.
You must get a hell of a lot of interest from the Brits on that.
I sure do. This is a 1972 Olds Cutlass convertible. It's got the original 350 engine, air conditioning, power top, just a nice car.
You sell many of them over to England?
I sure do. I export quite a few of the old convertibles, Rolls, and Corvettes.
Is it easy?
Very.
How do you go about it?
Well, after the customer decides on a car, it's simply a phone call to my shipping company. They pick up the car, and it's exported directly to England. And the cost is around $800.
So £500.
Exactly.
Are the English difficult to deal with?
Well, they just, they realize a good value, and they drive a very good bargain. They're tough. They realize the value of the cars, and, you know, like I told you before, they got more moves than John Travolta.
You have got to be interested in a car like this. If you're not interested in a car like this, it's because you don't have any soul. I mean, would you just look at that? All that remains now is for me to find the right chromium button and get into Florida mode. Unfortunately, you can't buy this car because I was here first, and I'm going to.
And what's more, because it's more than 20 years old, the customs will wave it through without charging any car tax.